This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
Why have you always worked?
Well, you know, when I was little, and I remember when some of the kids had ice cream and I didn't have any, and I didn't like it very much.
Millard, Oakley, this is such a treat for me. I've been wanting to do this interview for a while because you are an amazing man. You've done so much, you've given so much, and it's just an honor to be here with you.
Thank you very much. The honor's really mine, and you get my age, you want all the attention you can get.
Well, you deserve a lot of attention. Tell me about where you were born and the area and your family.
I was born in Overton County, Livingston, and I was the youngest of 7 children. My mother was a Vaughn, as my name indicates, and they were on a farm that was part of this farm, and she was the oldest of 11 children, pretty prolific families, and my father's family was 7 or 8, you know, so we had lots of cousins and things. So I was raised there, and really right on the edge of town, and went through the 8th grade there and through high school there. I could say, like, we were modest circumstances. The truth is, we were just poor.
What was it like? What was your house like? What was your
the first house was the first house was all right. You know, we had a good crowd in there, and it didn't have inside plumbing, which is a little bit inconvenient in the mornings and evenings. But then we built a house, and my father built a house in 1940 that had plumbing in it.
Wow.
He'd gone broke in the Depression, and the bank sold our house. And one of my older brothers got some kind of government loan or something and built a house. So it worked out pretty good, really, then. My first, I could say, entrepreneurial job was a shoe shine stand on the square in Livingston. A young fellow, Buddy Myers, an African-American fellow, had it, and he was moving to Detroit, and I bought it from him.
You bought, at 15, you bought your own business?
Yeah, my brother let me have the money. I didn't have it. It was $200 or something. I did that for a while. In 1947, I went to, graduated in the spring and went to Cumberland University that fall.
What did you study there?
Well, I didn't do so well, but I just studied whatever they had. I didn't. I didn't make very good grades. I was just kind of stumbled along. I wanted to go to law school, and
may I ask you why you wanted to go to law school?
I don't know. There's a fellow named Don White there in Livingston, was a lawyer, and really now look back, he just talked loud. He didn't know much. But I had an uncle who had gone to Cumberland. But you could go to law school then, and with so many hours, and maybe took a test or something, and then if you got through, you took the bar and passed it. And,
wow.
And I did. And
how old were you?
I was 20. I got through law school and I was 21, and took the bar and passed it. I had a license to practice law when I was 21, but I knew nothing. Nothing at all.
Learned it on the job?
Yeah, tried to. So I came back to, I started practicing law in 53. I had a little short period there. I went in the Navy for just a little while, and started practicing law in 53. I didn't have to stay at that point. The Korean War was over and it wasn't in demand, and so I didn't stay very long. And I'd been elected to. I ran for public office when I was 22. I got out in 51 and ran for public office.
So when you finished with the legislature, and you're still during that time, you're practicing law.
Oh, sure.
How long did you practice law?
Well, off and on. I took a break in 1971. Joe Evans was in Congress then. He'd been in Congress for a long time. And occasionally he'd come to the office and I'd help manage his campaign. And when he got in that district, I didn't have anything to do much. And so I put fans in churches and all those things that political people did then.
Right.
And he would come by occasionally and say, well, if you want to come to Washington, and one day I'd been trying a grueling murder lawsuit, I think it was, and I just said, put me on the payroll. And so I went to Washington General Counsel for one of the Hill Committees. Pretty impressive job.
Right.
I really didn't do much, but I was there from 71 to 73, and came back to Livingston, and had met Ray Blanton was in Congress, and he had a problem about some contributions that were made to his campaign in 1972 when he ran against Howard Baker, and he was elected. He ran and he lost that race very significantly, but in 74 he decided to run for governor, and I thought told him, I thought, that's kind of a waste of time, seems to me, but he just said, I'll show you, and he did. I was for Tom Wiseman, who was state treasurer at the time, and so he was elected and asked me if I wanted to do something with state government, and he appointed me commissioner of insurance, and it had a lot of stuff in it, state S&Ls and all the regulatory boards. So I served a 4-year term there. That was through 1978, and then I had I had started a bank with some local people. I guess I was 65. The First National Bank. We just had one bank in Overton County. It was a good bank,
right?
But I was an organizing director, and 6 of us, and then we sold stock and started the First National Bank. And
were you a banker?
No, I never worked a day at a bank, but still haven't. But the control of the currency made us put up $400,000 capital, and we thought that was a lot of money. And I put in, I think, $38,000 or $40,000, all I could get, and we started that. And then I was the youngest by far of the group in it, and then the natural things taking place, I gradually bought some other stock over the years. So this bank you were sitting in is 50, that would be 51 or 2 years ago.
My goodness.
So it's worked out really well.
I guess so. The assets have grown considerably since that.
Well, it's gone from that we're about 800 million.
My goodness.
We have offices in Crossville, Sparta, Livingston, and let's see, Putnam County, where we are.
Wow.
We're in 4 counties.
Millard, that's amazing. So you started a bank. You weren't a banker, but with a group of people, you started a bank.
Well, they did too. I didn't do it by myself. They had help.
I want to ask you about that. You've had such a varied work history. You a lawyer, state representative. You were a public servant on a number of fronts, and then banking and real estate and radio.
I started a radio station.
I do want to know about that.
One in Crossville, Tennessee. An engineer had got a construction permit and couldn't pay me for my services, and he just said, let me give you a permit. And so we put WCSV on the air in Crossville, and then I put one on there in WJKY in Jamestown, Kentucky, and WREA in Dayton, but I didn't really do that by myself. I always had a partner that really did it.
So what do you think is the common denominator for you of all of these different kinds of work you've done?
Really, the truth is, I'd like to brag, but I just got into them kind of in a backhanded way with other people and that kind of thing. It wasn't, it wasn't.
I think you're being modest.
Well, I've had some successes and some failures. You want to talk about a big failure? I had a big failure in Crossville. I put in with another fellow to up there, of all things, a ski resort. It was going to make snow. Nobody in this room is old enough, I guess.
Oh, I remember it.
Okay.
Yep, I remember it.
Well, we're called Renegade Resort, and the fellas, they sold us some little machines that looked like Volkswagen engines, and theoretically, you put water in them and spray it in the air, and it'd freeze and fall to the ground, and it was all right, but we just didn't have enough altitude. And I'd been in a land deal with some people, and we bought the old Black Mountain Land Company track, and I took my part in land and lost it, you know. And that was really before going to Washington. I really did that in 69, 70.
So what do you think people can learn from failure?
You just get up and start all over. I mean, I just went broke with
Right.
it.
So
It wasn't a big tragedy. When you start with nothing, you can't. It can't be too bad.
what do you think the key to success is? You've had great success. What do you think?
Some failures, some successes, but I don't know. Choosing the right people to associate with, and always try to get in with people in a deal that's smarter than you are, and then give it some thought. And I've noticed that you get lucky. I've always noticed the harder you work, the luckier you get.
Well, you do work hard, and there's a lot that I want to talk to you about. You have an incredible farm. During all this time, did you also farm during all this time?
Yes, I've always owned a farm ever since. I've had a large farm in Pickett County. Sold it to some people from England and made some pretty good money on it. It was a big farm, 2,500 acres or so.
Wow.
Over in Robinstown, right across the Eastport boat dock.
Okay. What I guess of your successes are you most proud of?
My mother was raised on part of this Hartsoe Cove farm. My grandfather, Vaughn, bought a piece of it, 150 acres of it, from Mr. Christian, who started the whole thing in 1897 for $300, and like $50 down and so much a year, and we still have it. It's been between my grandfather, my mother, and myself. We've owned it on 100 years or so, but my brother was in the farm with me. This Hartsoe Cove farm is interesting because it's very unique. It's what we call a bicentennial farm, where it stayed in the same family or bloodline for at least 200 years. And there's not one. There's one in DeKalb County, the Lancaster farm, that my good friend John Rose owns. And but there's just not many of them. See, they come as like a grant from the state. Mm-hmm. This came from North Carolina before Tennessee was a state, and Gilbert Christian got it for service in the Revolutionary War, and
wow.
He got the land, and then I was telling him before he got here but he had to pay 50 shillings for each 100 acres. And see, we were using shillings then, mm-hmm. not dollars. And so he had a misfortune to get killed in a Indian problem up in Roane County, Tennessee, but his son George was there. And it stayed in the Christian family, just father, son, until the last one was Mr. A.E. Christian. And that was in the 1972 or 3. And my brother and I bought the farm from him. And we owned part of it, but we brought the balance from him. And then we've had it since 73, 83, 40 odd years.
Wow. Can you describe that farm for me, or will you describe it?
Well, it's just, it's not like, flat land. It's just a cattle farm primarily, although there's my grandfather and my mother's brothers and sisters. She's the oldest of 11, and they built a rock fence or 2 on it, cleaned up so they could raise corn and things. At that point in time, there was a lot of small farms, not any big farms. Usually when families, have 10 or 12 children, your labor's right there with you. And this area has never been really a big farming area. Well, we think we have, but we haven't. And the area has never experienced any, it's always been a poor area, really. I was born in 1930, 87 years ago, and at that point in time, I can't give you the exact numbers, I can give it pretty close. There was about 18,000 people in Overton County, and now, 87 years later, there is maybe 21 or 22,000, so that the growth has been decimal 0.0000.
Wow.
In Cumberland County, the same year, I think there was 12,000 people, so they've gone from 12 to 70 maybe or so.
Right. Why have you always worked?
Well, when I was little, and I remember when some of the kids had ice cream, and I didn't have any, and I didn't like them very much.
Millard, you've been so generous, and our region is so we have benefited so much by your graciousness, honestly. And I'm going to mention some of the things that you've done, really contributed to significantly, like the Livingston Public Library, Vol State, the Tennessee Tech STEM building, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, the Tennessee Tech Ag building. Now you're giving your farm, this incredible farm and cattle, to Tennessee Tech Agriculture. I think all of these gifts really reflect how much you love this region, how much you love education, how much you really care about the people.
Well, but you're giving me so much credit that I don't deserve. I haven't. I've put in a good bit of, made very significant contributions to all of these, but I haven't paid for them totally, not anywhere close to it. But I have furnished with the library. I have maybe more than half of it or something, and then with down the STEM Center, a lot of that came. It was all built without any taxpayers' money, but a lot of it came from the Science Committee in Washington, and I did put maybe a couple $1 million or so in it. But maybe, I don't know exactly. And of course, the building, the ag building, there on the quad, they really named Oakley Hall. Mm-hmm. That is really as a result of me giving the farm to the university. It hadn't been done then, but it was. Right. We're going to do it, and so I've got more credit than I deserve.
Well,
a good bit more.
I appreciate you saying that, but I'm going to disagree with you because you don't have. You don't have to. You give willingly, and you give generously, and it makes a difference in people's lives. It's making a difference.
Well, seems to me, I think the main reason is that we ought to put more into society than we take out. It's just the way the system should work. Not necessarily with money, but people that render service public service like you're doing. You're putting more into society than you're taking out. And my wife and I want to do that.
Let's talk about JJ. Now, JJ, your wife, has been by your side, a wonderful partner, also very generous, and has made many gifts. How can I ask you how you two met? And
Well, let's see. We met at a social event. JJ has a degree from someplace, West Virginia University, and a master's in something from UT, and went to law school at UT. So she's a combination lawyer, nurse, that kind of thing, and you know, kind of psychoanalyzes me all the time and cross-examines me. But it's worked out all right.
oh, that's great. You guys are you're really a great team. Really are a great team.
Well, you're nice to say that.
So, has she ever thought of running for office?
I don't think so.
No.
I hope not.
So I want you to tell me about the farm that you've donated to Tennessee Tech. How many acres is it? And you say there's
We have the large house where we live was not in the gift. We reserved that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's probably 1,400 acres, 1,400 maybe.
Do you have thoughts on how dependent we are as a country on having food sourced to us?
Of course, and you know, now there's a movement, farm to table. There's no question that our diet and exercise, a little too, I guess, is the most important things about making you live longer, feel better, and all that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. People are more conscious of what they eat now than they used to be, particularly young people. Mm-hmm. They're into organic food and fresh food, and try and get away from processed food so much.
Right.
And the intention is to go ahead with the cattle and change them genetically. And we used to have registered animals, but when my brother passed away, we couldn't. It was just not practical. Mm-hmm. And we want to go get into tomatoes because everybody eats tomatoes, you know.
Right.
And from that into some other things.
That's
And we're just on the, just right before getting started, getting cranked up, really.
What other changes have you seen in maybe not just Overton County, but all of the Upper Cumberland that is significant during your lifetime?
Well, those changes are pretty significant when we've had a consolidation of the schools in the counties. And you could go to the square in Livingston. People would bring watermelons to town and produce, and then they would bring chickens in crates, and we now we won't raise enough pigs or hogs to feed Overton County. People don't do that anymore. When I was little, we always young, we always killed hogs and canned stuff. I can things now. We do it at home, but back then we'd kill hogs in the fall and had a smoke box and smoke the meat and really raised about most of the stuff we ate. We'd take the corn and go down to the mill and we'd take the corn. The miller would take it and weigh it, and then they'd give us so much meal back. Mm-hmm. And that kind of thing. We had the rolling mill there right off the square in Livingston, and people would take stuff there, and they just don't. The work ethic's just not there anymore.
Right. It's not the same. I know it's not the same.
No, it's really, really different.
I just have a couple of more questions. One, when they put Dale Hollow in, did that separate some of the schools? Did that change?
It did, and particularly at Clay and Pickett, it did. Those about the only two, maybe. I guess those are the only two counties that really changed.
Yeah. Did you play sports in school? No. No time for that.
Well, I probably could have played anyway. Kind of awkward, but I don't know how to hunt, shoot pool, or do anything like that. I've never hit a golf ball. You know.
You've just worked.
Well.
Just been a worker. So what's next for you, Millard?
Well, I'm afraid I don't know. At 87, you know, I'm playing in the fourth quarter. And
You're still working though.
well, I'm trying to.
Yeah.
I'm still involved in some businesses and things that I kind of enjoy. But you know, my shelf life is a little suspect.
I think you've got many more years and many really more great deeds to do.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, I hope so too.
This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.